Hello YouTube, it's Matt here with another self-build vlog, and this is part 2 of my Inset understair storage cabinet doors, and I'm just going to talk through a little bit of detail if anyone's interested. So first of all, in my previous video, you'll note that this frame went all the way to a point here, and I had to cut that out and kind of put this cross piece at the top. So yeah, if you're doing inset doors, you always got to have this little cross piece, otherwise the doors don't open, but see my last video about that. Second of all, these are Blum concealed hinges, and they're absolutely fantastic. I got the ones with this is called the crucible mounting plate, and there's different options. And the crucible mounting plate that I have here in my hand and that I've installed is the smack-in one, or the knock-in one. And what you do is you drill a 10, I think it's 10, yeah, a 10mm hole, and then, well, two 10mm holes, and then you smack it in with a mallet. In my case, what you do is you drill two 10mm holes, you try to smack it in with a mallet, it doesn't go, and then you have to kind of take, and I did this with all of them in the end, you have to, like, they're kind of half in because the holes aren't quite big enough actually. I kind of, my holes are slightly undersized, I think the drill's slightly undersized, slightly below 10. Anyway, smacked them halfway in, undid the screws, pulled the whole thing off, leaving the white plugs in the holes, and then smacked them home first with a rubber mallet, and then very carefully to get the last little bit in with a metal hammer. But when they go in, and they never come out. Actually, you can get them out if you were to take this screw off the plate, put the screw directly into there, which is mounted in the frame, and then use a hammer and like pull it out, like pull a nail out of a bit of wood. They do come out, so that's quite nice. But yeah, they're really, really solid fixings, and I highly recommend. I would always do it with these from now on and not screws where possible. Obviously, I've gone into hardwood, so that does help. But I think it would be the same for any kind of cabinetry, MDF, whatever. So yeah, these are the back plates, and the back plate has got its own jig, which is a little jig that I designed and 3D printed myself, because the ones for inset doors need to be set back a different, further than the ones for non-inset doors. And the ones for non-inset doors are the more common ones, so you get the jigs for those. So I designed and 3D printed my own jig, and it's quite cool actually. I was quite pleased with the way this worked. I'm not just saying that because I made it, because I'm quite critical of things that don't work very well that I make. But this one works really, really well. Oh, I've got my test door here. So what you do is, let's say you were doing it on, oh, sack it. Let's say you're doing it on this surface here. You basically line your thing up with this one and that one as well, if you like. And then the nice thing about this the purpose of this chamfer here was so that it could get loads of light in, so that you can see exactly where it goes to a point. And I just thought, well, I might as well chamfer it as much as possible. But actually, the unintended consequence is that once you've lined it up, I use a big DeWalt light so that I can see really clearly. Once you've lined it up, you kind of do that, and you push really hard with your thumb, and then you screw with the other hand. You drill with the other hand through these holes, there and there, and it holds really, really well, even on hardwood, which has got quite strong grain, and it's liable to kind of move around. But yeah, it's pretty good. Very pleased with this jig. So if anyone's interested in that, then yeah, let me know. That's jig number 1, and then jig number 2 is for these, and this is, again, these okay, so the 35mm big hole is the same as normal, any other cabinet hinges, but the two kind of guide holes here are actually at 40 something mil, well, anyway, they're wider. I can't remember what the exact measurements are. They're wider than standard ones, so I had to make a jig for that as well. And here it is. In fact, here's a variety of jigs. Here is one I downloaded from printables.com, and it's pretty cool. It comes with this detachable Craig style thingy, which you can put in, and then it comes with changeable back sets. So 5 refers to 5mm. Which way around does it go? This way around. That refers to 5mm between the hole and the edge of the piece of wood. So, so the tangent of the circle of the hole and the edge of the piece of wood, that's 5mm. So yeah, I downloaded a downloaded this from printables.com. Very nice guy. You can find it if you look. Anyway, you chuck that in there and then you put it against. I'm trying to do this with one hand and it's not working very well. Chuck that in there and then that needs to come out. Sorry, let me just do this and then I can show you. And then that goes against there, and then it's got little clampy places for clamps. And then you would put your 35mm bit in there, put a collar on it. Oh, and I bought some collars from, is that those? Is that them? No, it's not. The collars are here. I bought these collars on Amazon for about £6, and what they are is they're just, they can go on any drill bit, and then they've got a little Allen key that just do it up on the drill bit. That's quite cool. Although unfortunately my 35mm Forstner bit maxed out as a short stubby bit, so I couldn't use this one anyway. But I have designed my own one, and I'll talk about the pros and cons of each. Basically, this is great because you don't have these extra things. It's just designed for 5mm back set. We've got a little thing to line it up here. The issue, this should say 8mm. This is not the right one. Seem to have misplaced. Here it is. Here we go. Yeah, this is the one I actually used. And that's my first print, which I'm going to put in the bin. So yeah. You can see this a bit manged up, this one. But yeah, you put a clamp on that side, put a clamp on that side, line it up, and you drill through there. Unfortunately, with the Forstner bit, which is on my drill, and apparently has been moved over here. Anyway, can I show you the Forstner bit? Yeah, this is my short stubby Forstner bit, and what happens is, if you can see this, this is the kind of the better version. That just kind of maxes out. You can see it's too kind of small, but it works on this one. So it's already got a lip built in, so you just go boop, like that, clamp it down, and you just start drilling. Problem with this is it hasn't got any kind of depth stop. There's no way of doing a depth stop. So what I was doing is I just went for it, and then I got my vernier gauge, which is there, and I popped it in the hole and I just kept changing it. And I have to say, it was a real faff having to stop and, you know, vernier gauge it and then keep going, then vernier gauge it, and do it about like kind of 10 times per hole. And yeah, I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them to do. So that's the cons. This bit was really, really annoying to do. This one was really easy because I've got my new Amazon collars that I can put around a nice drill bit, and it just made very, very light work of it. It's like job done. This one just took ages. The pros are, it was free for me. Well, the cost of you know, filament and my time, which you know, is the filament was very cheap actually. Anyway, yeah, it was free for me. And it was fun. I enjoy these things. But the downside is, yeah, it's a complete nightmare. Oh, and also I think it started kind of manging up the edge here because of the nature of this, how it works. There's actually a side blade on the Forstner bit that I was using, so a bit of pressure in the wrong direction and it can get... Anyway, the nice thing about the Blum hinges is that they have got a lot of tolerance built into them. So you can make a few mistakes, you can kind of like have it slightly misaligned and it will still work. The actual hole you need is, I think, about 33mm, but obviously they ask you to do a 35mm hole. So you've got a bit of leeway there. And these less so, because they're what lines it up, but these were fine anyway. So yeah, if I were doing loads of this, there is no way I would be using my 3D printed one. This is completely rubbish. Don't recommend using that. Use this one instead from Printables, but make sure you get a longer bit and put a collar on it, and then that collar hit against here, and yeah, Bob's your uncle. Anyway, that is my chat about all this stuff. I kind of just wanted to do it myself as a project, really, and to see whether it was, you know, just as good as the Craig version or one of these. I haven't tried this yet. I will try this next. But yeah, don't use this, use this. You definitely don't want your bit to be in touch with the plastic, because it just eventually, I mean, I got through 7 of them, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got through 8 of them and they all worked, and it didn't make too much of a mess. So anyway, what they look like, and the cabinet hinges are installed. I've gone with a 2mm gap all the way around here versus the frame. So there's a 2mm gap, and what I've used for that is the wonderful little 3D printed 2mm spacers. Now I've designed and printed these myself, but I will link to the STLs if anyone's interested in 3D printing, or if anyone's desperately wanting them. I might even, you know, send them by post to you, because I don't think I need them anymore. Anyway, what I did before installing the hinges is I put these in here. In fact, the cool thing is you can kind of put them that way round, because it's got a little lip, you see. Put them that way. This is before I installed the hinges, and I put them all the way around. That stuck out so that you could just kind of pull them so they go completely flush with the frame, and then I marked out where the hinges were going to go. Also put 2mm ones in between. It's quite useful because you can just kind of pull them back out again and get everything vaguely flush. You'll see that my cabinetry is not, I mean, that's not bad actually, that joint. In fact, it's not a joint actually, it's not a joint, it's just a butt joint, I guess, with screw and a bit of glue. These individual pieces of wood are screwed to the studs that are around them. I've got a stud here as well, and a stud across the top. But I have also chucked a couple of screws in that way and that way, just to kind of hold it. But basically, yeah, they're not jointed to each other really, they're jointed to the framework around it. You'll see my carpentry skills are not so fabulous. These are pretty rough, but the idea will be that I'll use a little bit of filler here. The faces, or sorry, these are the edges of the wood, will be painted white anyway, so I'll just chuck a bit of filler in there. And then we're going to have a beading with a bit of a, you know, a quadrant bead set 1mm or 2 or 3mm back or whatever from the very edge of the frame. And that'll be mitered in down there as well. And then there'll be beading over the doors as well. So it doesn't really matter that these aren't perfect, which is a good job, because I'm not, as you can see, I'm not a fine woodworker by any means. But the purpose of doing it in hardwood was so that when you open up the doors, you will see, it's a bit of a mess now, but you will see hardwood frames. And then you're going to also see, we're a real fan, aren't we, Anna, of walnut. There's Anna. We're a real fan, aren't we, Anna, of walnut dark kind of, she's got her AirPods in, okay. We're a real fan of walnut dark wood interiors and white walls. So kind of quite high contrast stuff. So the idea here, obviously this is going to be painted white on the outside. This will be painted white. But then we've got a nice, this isn't walnut, this is balau. But then we're going to use some walnut veneer MDF to carcass it out. I say carcass, put some little walls up and the dividing wall that goes there, and the walls going down there. And then I'm going to have plywood shelves, and I'm going to route the edge of the plywood, so it's good, it gives it a nice curve, and then probably burnish or just put some oil on the edge to give, you know, it'll give an interesting look. It's not going to be fine cabinetry in there, but I think with a combination of, you know, the wood and the walnut veneer MDF, which is about 70 or 80 quid per sheet of 8x4 from Builder Depot, with a combination of that and the walnut and the plywood and the cool LED strips that are going to be recessed around, I can't quite see, but recessed in that gap there, facing it at 45 degrees. With a combination of that stuff, I think it'll look pretty sweet. I mean, it's only a shoe cupboard. So I did decide originally on these. This is my delivery from Blum, actually from Heart Wholesalers. I did decide on these kind of pinions. They're called, I'm sorry, I forget the name, but I will post it down below. And this is the housing for it. and it has a little mounting plate, that little grey bit in there. Obviously you've got two doors, so you'd have one here and one here, and you would put them on here. But as you can see, they stick out. These are the long version. You can get shorter versions, but apparently the shorter versions aren't spec'd for doors that are higher than 1300, which this is just. Perhaps one solution would be to get the short versions and then put them at top and bottom. I think that's a pretty good idea. But actually, in the end, I've decided to switcheroo these hinges out. So these are called the Blum clip top range, and the clip range, or the clip top range, have got different options. These are the non-sprung and the non-blue motion, and blue motion is where it gives you that soft close. These are non-sprung, non-blue motion, and the reason is I was going to use that pinion system to magnet, hold it closed, and then you push and it kind of does that and comes out. It pushes quite hard to come out. That's why you need to use the extended ones. But actually I've changed my mind. We're not going to have a complete flush look. I'm going to get some really nice knurled brass knobs, and we'll use those, and I'm going to switch these out for the clip top Blue Motion sprung versions. And the Blue Motion can be turned on and off per hinge, which means you can choose how strong you want it. You can have like hinge 1 and 3 with Blue Motion, or 1 and 4, or you can have them all 4 with Blue Motion. It'll pull it in really quite tightly. So that is my idea with hinges and stuff. You can see these actually protrude beyond the frame. I'm just going to ignore that detail and move on with life because I'm not so bothered about it. So yeah, there we go. That is, but you can see, despite my kind of slightly dodgy cabinetry, I say cabinetry, you can see we've got a consistent 2mm gap all the way around. You can see down here. Yeah, now I've not adjusted this out yet, so this does need adjusting on the right hand side, so this can be pushed out a little bit, but that will happen when I get my screwdriver out and adjust these screws here. But perhaps this gives you a better example. This is one I think I have adjusted it, and you can see, yeah, horrible. What was I thinking? Actually, the reason these joints are so horrible is that's not so bad. I don't even want to show you this one. Blech. Yeah. Blech. Terrible, terrible. Not proud of that, but what I am proud of is the fact that I didn't plane the wood and I managed to get it straight somehow and level and bang plumb and with the correct gaps around. So yeah, I don't really care about all this stuff. I'm going to just fill it. I'm going to put it down to experience. As I say, it's my first time ever doing anything with hardwood other than just putting it on a decking. And yeah, it's not so easy to work with because it just gets through blades and whatnot. Anyway, I digress. That is my plan. Let me know what you all think. If you have any comments in the comment section, leave me a comment. Tell me if you think this is a good idea or if I should have done something differently. Always open to hearing about that. Oh, one other thing is I'm going to be buying these little sensor, what do we call them? Hall effect sensors, are they? Or they just, no, they're basic, just magnetic sensors, I think. I'm going to go with the one that's just mounted on the door and then mounted on here. Unfortunately, I can't get the recessed ones. I've got recessed ones, but they are too big for the 18mm, because it would be quite nice to have a recessed door sensor so you just don't see anything. I might see if I can get ones that can go in 18mm. But the ones that I've got are suitable for, normal sized doors, front doors, etc. So the actual sensor itself is about 19 wide, and you kind of route them in, and they're fully recessed. But they'd be nice. Anyway, I've got the cabling for that, and obviously the cabling for the lighting as well. I'm going to plasterboard all this next, and then yeah, I'm not going to do a full tour of the build, but I will do that at some point. But yeah, you can see we're getting on really quite nicely. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you on the next video.